your key takeaways from the sessions, and what would you need? What do you see that is lacking? What are your needs? What are your challenges? So key takeaways, what you have liked, or what has caused the most discussions in your head or with your desk mate, and then what is it that you would like to see improved upon? So just comment down, right, keywords, individually or in groups, it doesn't matter. After the presentations, we will all invite you here to just jot down a few things, after which we will sum it all up and comment on these findings, and that's it. But now, without further ado, please let me give you a small introduction on what I do and what we call strategic talent attraction. So I work for a company called Future Place Leadership, where we work with the management and innovation of places. So we work with leadership, so we are management consultants. So if a place wants to attract foreign talent, businesses, investment promotion, or wants to work with smart cities, all of these things that are happening in a place environment, in a city, a region, a cluster, where you have multiple stakeholders, we work with the management of that. How do you actually get from wherever you are to becoming more attractive? What are the services that you need to do to become more attractive? But to begin with, why even attract talents? Now, this is a short chapter given that we're on the second day of this conference. To put it very briefly, Klaus Schwab, we can lend his words, the chairman of the World Economic Forum, has said clearly that it's the human capital, talents, that will be the key factor in innovation and growth in this century. If you look at the demographic situation in Europe and in the Western Hemisphere, we're losing out on talent. The demographic situation is as it is, while at the same time, if you look to the right-hand side, you have, to the left-hand side, you have Asian countries, for example, India, Indonesia, China, and such countries that are having talent in surplus. So people with energy, with sparks in their eyes and looking for jobs here and there. And at the other end of the spectrum, we have countries such as us and European countries elsewhere here on the continent that need talent for one reason or another. Now, to change the track a bit, there's always this controversy, probably, that they come and they take our jobs. Now, this is not the time and place, at least here in this morning, to discuss, unless you want, the question of refugees or do foreign talents steal our jobs. If you look at research, literature, empirical evidence, then among them is Enrico Moretti, a professor from Berkeley University in California who has made research and discovered that one highly skilled professional can create up to 5 additional jobs. And this doesn't mean the 5 people he or she will hire. This means service providers, dentists, teachers, nurses, etc., that they will need to run and manage their lives. And he has even updated the thing with new numbers that in some places, like Silicon Valley, it can be up to 1 to 6, that ratio. So we move from that, we move to places. People move to places. Cities are becoming more prominent, as you have heard from yesterday, read from elsewhere. Cities are the place where talents cluster, where they go. What captures the imagination? What drives the brand association? You think about a company or yourself. You think about you think about it in a city context. You move to a city. You don't move to Sweden or Germany. What is Germany or Sweden? That's a big set of ideas, collections, geographic area. You move to Stockholm, or you move to Malmö, or you come from Hanover, or you're a startup in Berlin. Those things are very different and very specific. And when you look at where to move, relocate yourself or your company, you look at what the city is about. Do you have a high ratio of startups? Is there buzz in your relative, in your cluster where you want to go, whether you work with clean tech or otherwise? You look at the city. Cities matter. And that's a very practical implication to policymakers as well, because if you are setting up services, like Nicola has told about Copenhagen yesterday, then you work with the city and you have one-stop shops and services inside that city. So that all it was very important and very key in thinking about strategic talent attraction management. You think around the city and then you organize the services around the city. So talent attraction management, what is this? This is a concept we have developed, but following what is happening in the real world, so to say. So it's a very simple model. It's a circular model, beginning with talent attraction. So you register on the radar, go and work in Estonia, all right? Then you go to talent reception. Okay, is there information? How am I treated upon arrival or before arrival? Do I find enough information, practical information for myself, my spouse, my children, my company? Okay, you did. It was all very good. The process went well. You arrived there. Talent integration. You live there. How is the experience? How are you treated? From 9 to 5 at the workplace and from 5 to 9 outside the workplace. And that feeds into talent reputation, and in turn the reputation feeds into the brand again. Will people go again, or more people, will they come to Estonia or Sweden or Finland, or will they not? So it's a simple thing. It's a simple, very simple concept, but it's packed with different services that you can then apply to each of these different phases. The first bubble you saw was talent attraction. Well, that's, let's say, pre-arrival communication entailing honest marketing and branding. That has open house, international information portals, online, move to Germany.com, such things. So it's a very specific set of services that you can apply to become more attractive to talents. If we look at a few examples, then we have funny and simple examples. We have Oulu in Finland, where Nokia was developed. So here you see a naked man in an ice hole. Why? Because that's Finland, because that is what they do. They go to a sauna and then they go to an ice hole. But this is also a pitching contest, a unique pitching contest, because you get to pitch as long as you can. Now, that's something you don't see and experience every day. Now, the cold water is a bit of a factor, so you probably pitch 1 or 2 or however many minutes. 2 international investors who are standing there in a privileged position outside the ice hole, and in the background you see journalists from The Economist, tech, different tech portals, Wired, etc., Financial Times. So this is good branding because this is the honest, this is the authentic Finnish stuff, both in terms of the sauna, the culture, the weird naked people, and this being in Oulu, the high-tech area. If you look at more, say, in-depth examples, you go to Denmark and you talk about the reputation. So talents come and they go. At least that's how you should, as a policymaker, think about it. Talents flow. They go from one place to another. Maybe settling down somewhere someday, but they change jobs, as we all do. So you need to be very mindful about that. If they leave, when they leave, what will they talk about that? So about the place, the experience. So in Copenhagen, you did a wonderful thing where they gave permission and training and press templates to talents who left the place, and they got to run with their own articles in Polish, Hindu, etc. So they essentially became talent ambassadors of the place. You can do recruitment missions, good old orthodox recruitment missions, partnering up with companies, going to your ex-destination market like Montreal is doing. Or you can do it virtually, like Scotland is doing, where you set up a virtual environment and you invite all the key players there, the talents, the companies, the migration experts, who will advise both the talents and the companies on what would be needed if I am coming from New Zealand, Uganda, or elsewhere. What is the practical implication? What is the tax implication if I work here for, say, 6 weeks, plus 6 weeks? All these different things. So you get it there online at this recruitment fair. Startup Chile is a unique case where they, out of nothing, created Silicon Valley, as The Economist has dubbed it. But again, giving them exactly what is needed to boost that economic environment. yes, the money for startups to actually do something, some strings attached that they needed to work there and do a bit of lecturing so that the word would spread. In the country, so that the startup ecosystem would actually take up, and mentors and then acceleration programs, etc. And it took off. It's a good example. And the media liked it. They picked it up. And here we are talking about Silicon Valley. Talking about also an ambassador approach to branding, marketing your country or your city as a career destination. You can use the ambassadors, and a project we are currently doing with Copenhagen, Reykjavik, Gothenburg, and Kristiansand in Norway is a Nordic talent ambassador, where we will recruit 15 talents, international people located in these 4 cities, and then using this common Nordic platform website, we will upload their profiles, their stories. I come from India, I come from the UK, live in Kristiansand or Gothenburg, because this place is just so great because of these and those reasons. So we upload their profile and the story and spread the word and try to attract even more people to these cities. So why this is unique is because 4 different competing cities are doing this together. So when yesterday we talked about how talent mobility and less competition, how this could all somehow become more of a common push, a European or a Nordic push to get talents to a larger region, so to cooperate. This is one of the small projects that we are working on that drives this notion as well. How could we, different cities, cooperate instead of seeing this thing, war for talent, as a zero-sum game? Did you hear about this campaign earlier this year? Wellington. Wellington paid for 100 tech talents. They flew 100 tech talents over to Wellington, New Zealand. Fun stuff, right? Well, when they launched this, they had 48,000 applications. So from 48,000, they needed to go to 100. That took a bit of time. The website even crashed once, but they got through it. So the campaign was nice. It went absolutely viral because you could win a free trip to New Zealand. So 100 people were chosen, went there for 5 days, got to see interviews with the companies, experience the social life, etc. So again, a very, well, let's put it honestly, very expensive campaign to pull off. But the companies who were a part of this saw the need and the benefit from this. And as you can see, Wellington is at the center of this. It's place brand, it's life quality promise. And it's based around a simple thing, the best summer job in the world, I think from a few years ago. Nothing to do with talent attraction, but there was simply an ad that went viral. Australia or someplace wanted an island caretaker, and everybody applied for the job. It's a similar idea. In Vasa, in Finland, they've done a similar thing. So this is all in Finnish, but they are looking for 10,000 doers, so talents, and they had a program where they had energy ambassadors. So they have a very strong energy cluster in Vasa. And then they had 12 weeks, 12 jobs offered to an energy ambassador, so they could move around the environment and then blog and talk about how is Vasa. Vasa is a really cool place. I should go there. Gothenburg, I've mentioned a few times. Again, they've made a great push from being zero to hero, so had a very bad post-industrial reputation, but now they've stepped up their efforts and have improved their reputation. But again, it's based on specific services, coordination of the environment by the business chamber, who's heading then the multiple stakeholder push there towards becoming a more attractive destination for international talents. The same thing happening in Finland, for example, enjoys a very good reputation inside Finland as well, the number 2, maybe number 3 city after Turku. So again, they have services. They have talent managers working at the investment promotion agency. Stockholm, capital of Scandinavia, is doing an online Twitter handle thing, becoming a bit of an orthodox thing, I assume, which is good, that they have the official Twitter handle handed over for a week, curated by an startup company, who then gets to show that we are a startup here in Stockholm. This is what we do. This is how we go jogging in the morning. We have great teamwork, etc. Come and work with us. Work in Estonia does this as well with the their Instagram account, I think. So this is a very, very good tool. What Sweden as a country did during the peak, or one of the peaks of the refugee crisis, was that they cooperated with LinkedIn. This was LinkedIn's initiative. They created a hashtag, Welcome Talent, encouraged people to spread the word that Syrian refugees upload, create, update their LinkedIn profiles, because LinkedIn is huge in Scandinavia. People use that. It's a very practical tool, as it should be. So use the hashtag Welcome to Talent if you are a refugee, or if you are an employer and would like to seek out talents, refugees or otherwise. If you need a specific sort of highly skilled person, please use the hashtag. And you, dear refugees, you've had a hard time, but this might help you if you use the hashtag Welcome Talent. Change your country to Sweden on your profiles, so your profile comes up in the search results. And they did this based on some data as well, because 26% of the refugees had higher education. So there was a bit of a match there with the demand that the country had. So there are all sorts of tools that can be and are used. Look at Finland. Finland, on the right-hand side, has a national strategy to become, ambitiously, the best place to work in Europe. They have a strategy executed by the Ministry of Economy, and they have branding initiatives for that. So they have identified what are the strength pillars that they use about the country, how companies can use their storytelling and employer branding based on this larger place brand. And they execute this national strategy. You can follow the hashtag or the Twitter handle. And as a more, perhaps, hands-on example is Helsinki's business chamber, that has initiated a contest, successful multicultural company campaign. Companies big and small were invited to hand in their application. Why and how are they multicultural? How do they internationalize? A buzzword of our day and age, but what do you do? What can you do? So they created a competition. And the entries can no longer be submitted, but they will now announce the winners on the 5th of October across the bay in Helsinki. Go and have a look. And it's a very good practical example, creating a competition to raise awareness, to give recognition to companies, big and small, so they would internationalize and see the benefits. What is internationalization in practice in my 5 or 15 or 25 people strong company? So we come to Estonia, which recently, by the way, underwent a branding platform course as well. And honest branding and marketing is something I mentioned as well. And you need to have that, because if you are a foreign talent going to a foreign country which you know nothing about, yes, you need the hype. You need to be aware that there's a thriving startup or whatever scene there is, but you need to know more. You need to know what is the place about. So Estonia has problems, like the largest gender pay gap, but they have managed to address this issue, making the first move, like in chess. So they talk about the issue and thus show that we know that this is a problem. We talk about this openly and honestly, and we're working on it. So it's getting better. We realize this is a problem. So honest branding and marketing is a thing to work with. And Estonia, like Finland, like Sweden, Denmark, other countries have their branding toolkits online available. And it's very good to see that Work in Estonia, for example, has used this as well. So they are a national initiative housed in Enterprise Estonia, attracting foreign talent, promoting the country to foreign talent, international talents to come and work here. And they post job ads, they share job ads on social media, they work with the companies, provide marketing materials, hiring checklists, relocation guides, all sorts of practical information, again, to talents and to companies. And a very interesting initiative that they pulled off which won even an award, was that they used Airbnb in Finland. So there's plenty of Finnish tourists that come here annually, 2.6, of which 1.7 million stay overnight. But Estonia is probably seen as the little brother, and it's just fun to go there, not really registered as a talent destination perhaps. So they did a bit of surveying, about 1,400 people they surveyed, and 70% of them said that, yeah, Estonia has actually an attraction power that, yeah, perhaps indeed, we could consider go and work there. And they did ads on Airbnb. So if you clicked on a place to go and stay overnight, instead what you got was a job ad. And it was real. And if you scratched the surface, you could actually go to a job ad. So this was done with real companies. The salary difference, which is an issue between Finland and Estonia, that was correlated as well. So if a job offer here had 5,000 euros on offer, that would have been the same as 8,000 euros in Finland. Because of the tax differences, you would have needed to have an 8,000 euro salary to make the same here in Estonia with the 5,000. So it got really good media traction. It was a successful campaign and a good viral trick there that work in Estonia pulled off. So that's the appetizer, the short introduction from me, what, why, and how talent attraction in this workshop that is, by the way, organized and sponsored by Work in Estonia and the Estonian Business Chamber. So now I hand over to Agne from Big Bank. And again, please keep in mind, we will have you here on stage without a microphone or anything, but you will be working here with your key takeaways, needs and challenges on the whiteboards. Thank you very much.
Good morning from my side. I am Agne Sokolov, and coming from Estonian bank called Big Bank. And I have exactly 20 minutes with you today to talk about how Big Bank has attracted and also keeping the talent. So, first of all, we like to talk in Big Bank about the experience and also about the journey. So first I would like to start with you and ask, please raise your hand, who here is working and living outside of Estonia? Okay, so roughly the majority. So I am very happy to see that. So I will be talking to you exactly these 20 minutes. And now let's imagine that. How does it go further? Mm-hmm. Here? Okay. So let's imagine that you are coming from Italy or Spain or some other very far country. And you are wondering why not to change the job that you have right now. Or maybe you have found a nice man or husband, wife in Estonia, and now you have to move here. So you are starting searching in internet, and you find a lot of companies also from Estonia who are looking for the employees worldwide. Wow, this is already something, because this country, you find out, is a very little tiny country somewhere very far away. But then you realize that there are very interesting jobs to offer. For example, software developer. You find also about compliance officers, product managers, and maybe this is something that catches your eye. And you start searching for more. For example, in Estonia, you see that this is a really small country, but digitally savvy country. And there are banks who have such interesting jobs. For example, site reliability engineer in technology, very specific job. And then you find out that there are a lot of things that Big Bankers do. You see a lot of pictures, great happenings, people are happy in the pictures, and you are more interested. So you dig into it. And then you see that this company is in a constant change. And of course you wonder, but am I a good match? then you see that mostly we hire senior level employees. And you think, okay, I'm a good match because I have special competence and a really lot of experience in the field. And I am a person who likes to fix the problems, but also I see the new opportunities. And I am learning and I want to develop myself, and I really believe in teamwork. So this is what they are searching, and I think I could do it. But I live in Brazil. Do they really welcome me in Estonia, in Big Bank? What does it take to get there? And then you realize that actually it doesn't matter because they are searching already worldwide. So you see the job vacancies and you read that they don't need Estonian language in most of the jobs. So if you talk in English, you can do it. And then you see this Big Bang Wow, and you find a lot of pictures from there, but you're still wondering, what is this? And you can read that this is the way of working in Big Bank. And there are people who are dealing with human resources, office services, document management, and also internal communication. Yes, and there is this WOW support services. What are they actually doing? And you get to know that WOW support services role is to help each employee and manager in Big Bank to be a great value asset for the company every single day. Wow, that is a promise, you think. Okay, let's dig further. You would like to know actually what kind of bank it is. And you see that this is a specialized bank who is offering loans and deposits in 9 European countries. Interesting. They are international. And they are celebrating 25th of anniversary this year, actually today. And there are over 400 employees in 6 countries. Very international, talking very different languages. And there are over 200 employees in Estonia. I could be one of them. How you would find Big Bank and other companies in Estonia? You are probably searching through all these channels. And you're also popping on Big Bank vacancies in these different countries in Europe, but also worldwide, because we have the career page, jobs.bigbank.eu, where people can really find different things that Big Bankers do, how they live, what kind of responsibilities different jobs have, and what kind of benefits they offer. So this is a lot of interesting information for you. Now, you really want to apply. You are convinced that this is the place and the employer for you. So you send out your CV and now starting to think, okay, the time has stopped. What is happening? We get a lot of CVs, resumes from different countries, also from third countries. And it takes time to look through them. Because, for example, you have a lot of experience in your field as a compliance officer, but you are only talking in Indian, in Arabic, in German, and no English. So it will be really difficult to get the job in Estonia if not talking in English. Then, if you already are in the process and you are happy and you feel that right now I only have these 2 documents to deliver, and you realize that actually, for example, in Nigeria, you don't have this Estonian consulate in your country. You have to travel somewhere. It also takes time. And then you realize that it is not so easy to get this proof to your education certificate. But these are the things that the company in Estonia needs. And also we need to prove that your background is clear, that you don't have any criminal record. So these are the things that the bank is searching. You might have a lot of questions that you are hesitating. They are personal. How to ask them through phone or Skype or email. You would like to see the people. Then it becomes also a problem. If you are coming from Brazil, you have to travel to Estonia. It takes time. And maybe you got hesitation. What else? You need the visa. You need to travel through the world to reach Estonia. You need the work permittance, the residence, and it all takes more time. So, but it can also happen that you are not coming alone to Estonia. You have a nice dog with you. You have your family, children. And then you start to wonder, in Estonia, are they really that civilized as we are here in Germany, for example? Or in Sweden even? And you see that there are some, but very few, companies who could hire your wife or husband because they have a specific knowledge. And then you start searching for the schools, the kindergarten, and you have to know that they are really speaking English there. And these are quite expensive in Estonia. And you have your hairy friend whom you would like to also get to Estonia. And then you realize and have to tell your children that actually the dog has to be in the quarantine and has to become some vaccines. So it might be difficult for your family. Now, you really decide and you have applied and you are getting to Estonia. And then this happens. All this documentation, relocation, a lot of hustle. But what BeatBank offers you is a partner who is contacting you and taking care of all these things. And they just happen as a miracle. You are packing your bags and coming to Estonia happily. Then, of course, you would like to have an apartment and you want to have a look. And then you realize that there is the cost. You have to come up with 3 months rental cost at once. But here we also have our partner who is helping you out. Then, of course, you need to have the salary. How we can pay it to you. You have to open the bank account, and it's also costly in Estonia. So we will help you with that. And then, of course, you walk on the streets, and you realize that the Estonian people are quite serious, even cruel, you might think. In BeatBank, we will discuss with you about these things and let you know that the Estonians are actually friendly people when you get to know them, and you gain their trust. Then they smile and laugh and making even jokes. What else? You might have the thinking that you are lost out working in BeatBank in Estonia because the majority are Estonians. And they are chatting and talking, and it might happen in Estonian. No. In BeatBank, there is a rule that if some people come from other countries and talking not in Estonian, then everybody else is talking in English. And all the chats, jokes, everything will be shared with you. And of course, the main topic we talk about is the weather. Because if you're coming from Brazil or from Ukraine, then 10 degrees is for you maybe a winter. For us, it's summer. And you speak and read and get to know from people that, okay, the summer lasts in Estonia, for example, 1 week. And the rest of the year, there is this bad skiing weather, as we say in Estonia. It is like it. But in BeatBank, we have the tools and to talk about it. You need this warm hat, gloves, warm jacket, rain boots, always, and an umbrella. And you can survive in Estonia. So, how we keep you in BeatBank? We ask, of course, for your feedback about this journey that you have taken with us. And then we talk about this with the newcomers and improve this process all the time. We support your integration into the Estonian society, because from this weather, one day you might get sick. And then you need a doctor who really understands what is wrong with you. So you need English-speaking doctor, which is not also very common in Estonia, and the lists of doctors are really full. So we come to help you. We have great experiences that we experience with our employees weekly. There are happenings inside the office and also outside the office. We are going around Estonia, playing tennis together, some other nice things, or just doing some fun researches in the office. And of course, you have your team. They are taking care of you. And one day, you realize that you have become a big banker. And you are proud to work in Estonia because you feel that right now you have become one of us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We now know what the WOW effect is. That's way of working.
Yes.
That was the acronym. All right, thank you very much. Last speaker, but not least, Nikolai Lubansky from Copenhagen.
Yep, thanks a lot. Thank you so much. For those of you who were here yesterday, I promised to dive into a bit more of the story I didn't really reach yesterday. I think the main topic also in your program is about private and public cooperation. And I would like to combine that with some thoughts about the future of talent attraction, and then try to get that into that kind of way of speaking. But while we're at a university, I will recommend a book as a starting point, because you very often have that idea that you either should be in the private sector and great things you're doing at Big Bang, for instance, or you should see the public sector, and it's something very separated in that sense. There's a great, actually British professor, she's Mariana Mazzucato, not a very British name, but the University of Sussex, who's written a great book that's called The Entrepreneurial State. And I really recommend you to read that book, because it changes your ideas of what is the role of the public sector and what is the role of the private sector. And that book just changes your mindset about how can you actually see, and what she's arguing is that we very often see the private sector as the only one like being the breadwinners and changing and innovating the society, and the big changes come from that. But her perspective is that very often some of the bigger societal change has come from state initiatives. So she sees the state as an entrepreneur as well. So I think that is actually a way, it actually changed my way of thinking about a lot of stuff. And when I was actually praising some of our colleagues from the regulatory framework of the ministries, and we are so dependent on the rules and regulations. And it has to be a combination that we do this in common. Lots of the great stuff you do is also very dependent on that we have a sector and a public sector that offers that kind of possibilities. So that's like a university introductory remark. Read the book. And maybe another introductory remark, then I'll promise to get to what I'm supposed to talk about. But is that we have, you make a joke about this, the capital of Scandinavia and so on, that everybody is actually picking up on being more attractive, doing great things for attracting talent. And if you are in a location, you should just be happy that those you compare with are being better, getting to be better and better, because it sharpens you. You need to do great things because they're getting better and better. Actually, we did a small exercise in Copenhagen Capacity one day. We took some of the sayings, the branding words of several places, and then we took the name away. So we only saw the phrases, and everybody was saying we are green and centrally located. we are this and that, and if you're most tech high and most IT digital country. And then I asked my team to guess which one of them was Copenhagen and which one is somebody else's places. And most of my team mistook Copenhagen from Kosovo. So I was just happy because there you see, we need to do something extraordinary because Kosovo is picking up on talent attraction. So you actually, it's like pay raises. If somebody in your team come and ask for a pay raise, you should be happy because then you can go to your boss and say, they're so highly paid, my team, so you need to raise your pay. But long story. I'll dive into, you know who I am. What I'll do is actually, oh, this is very difficult to see anything about. Oh, good. What I'll do is actually to walk through 6 thoughts on the future of talent attraction. Then I'll combine the stuff about how you can cooperate within the public and private sector and what some of these aspects, what we are trying to do. What we were supposed to see here is some pros and cons on why is talent attraction becoming more and more important. I don't know why I didn't make it white up here. I think, and you will have the slides, I think you will have the slides, won't you, afterwards? So they'll be uploaded somewhere. But I think there's actually some things that's in favor of this. Of course, we've talked a lot about that. That's all the saying of this, that investments are very following talent, that more and more, you can say also foreign investments, we experience that very much, that companies are actually starting not to ask what they often ask in Denmark when they are interested in locating themselves in Denmark, or Copenhagen, they ask the tax question. They say, can we get a plot of land for free? Or if we do that kind of investments in R&D, can we have a tax reduction? And so on and so forth. And all the time we have to say, no, that's not the model we do in Denmark. We don't have initiatives or incentives like that. But we see that question of the tax question has been changed into a talent question. And we just lost a case, unfortunately not to Eindhoven, but to Amsterdam. Oracle was setting up a big support business center where they will have 350 people assisting their systems, the Oracle office. And they were actually asking us to locate them either in Copenhagen or Amsterdam or Berlin. And Amsterdam won, because they have the most talent with native French speaking to support the French market. Even though I dived into all the statistics, asked universities, we didn't have enough native, basic mother tongue, French-speaking people who were able to support people in the IT sector speaking French. So basically we lost a case due to not having enough talent. So lots of pros, why is talent attraction is becoming more important. I'm wondering, and that's the cons over here, why is that actually the case? At the moment, with the digitalization, we should be able to work from several places. We see a different value chain in many banks, for instance, where you locate different parts of your business in different areas. So is this actually needed that we move people around? And there we've actually engaged into a cooperation to take it in, and I'll do that for every 6 step, to say what we've tried to cope with the public-private working together here, is that many of the companies, when they're settling and hiring people from Brazil, for instance, what we try to advise them and do that together with the public sector is to say, why don't you let the people start working, being back home? So they start working for half a year in Brazil and see whether the work relationship works. Is it the right match on the job task before you ever then start up having this settling in and travel things and all that, and to see whether it works. That also gives you the time to get all the red tape working, because you find out within a month or 2 whether it works, and then you have 4 months or something like that to get all the arrangements settled. And there we work very closely together with the public sector. What kind of fast tracks can there be? And what they've done from the Danish authorities is they've changed and made a fast track system where you can, as a company, be certified. So if you are a certified company and there's several criteria for that, then you can actually they can start working right away. Then you don't need to have all that. They can actually start working, and then you can have the papers done while they're starting working. So that's a very good example, I think, of how you can try to work with the barriers, or both the barriers, but also work in cooperation between the companies and the state and the authorities in that sense, and actually trying to tackle into why is this. So basically my answer is yes, it's becoming more and more important, the talent attraction part, but there's also something speaking in a different direction that we need to take into consideration. Oh, there it was, yeah. Okay, my slides went more. The second thing, I mentioned that yesterday, is that to change your mindset. Gosh, that was number 2, and I'm halfway. Yeah, that's the trouble of being engaged in what you do, isn't it? Like to talk about it. But this is a key point, I think. And that's why I'm also very happy to be here today and to be together with you guys, is that I think we have to change our mindset, to think in a different manner, that we think that we take some away from them. I like very much the Eindhoven program. It's done together with it's both Catalonia and it's the Basque country as well, yeah, and Galicia as well, yeah, where you actually see that as a possibility. You engage, you make a possibility for a certain amount of people who are interested in taking a period and learning a lot from being in the tech industry in Eindhoven. I see, and then these people will actually go back eventually or go somewhere else and contribute. And I think this kind of thinking, we should work more on that. And I would like to see a program, a project or something like that, where you actually put that into practice. You had a great slide before of where in the world there's a surplus of talents. Great educations around the world. Take Indonesia, take other places where they have, or India, of course, they're developing and educating. A lot of people find it hard to find the right job matching their skills. Why not creating some kind of programs where they could enter, work here for a matter of years, and maybe return, and actually having the skills, having the work experiences. So I would very much like to work on that. Again, that bumps into a lot of systems. If you dive into the university programs then you should be working on that. We have had, after a long discussions in Denmark, we've made the establishment card. I'd like to take that much further. Is the possibility, if you take an education at a Danish university, though at master level, then never which third country, as it's called, you would come from, you are allowed to spend 2 years in Denmark trying to find a job. You don't need to have a job to be there. So that's a way we would like to expand it much more, because why are we not giving an opportunity to more people after that? So that's the second thought. Another thought is that very often we talk as something that Danes are different from people from everywhere else in the world. I think we should change our mindset again and start working and say, actually this is a quote from a company I interviewed. They said, talent is talent and we as company are colorblind. It doesn't really matter as long as they have the right competences. And actually, we have these programs, as one of them you mentioned, the Youth Goodwill Ambassador course, where we use also those who found their way to also marketing and tell the story around the world. It's a great program. It's not because I've done it, it's not because it's my organization, but we have Danes knocking on our door saying, why can't I get into that program? And I don't have a proper answer to that because it's for internationals. Yeah, but why? And then I can't really answer. Yeah, it's because I think that's needed. Yeah, but something's needed for me as well. So I think we should merge, actually. So even though my organization, Copenhagen Capacity, is set in the world, that's our raison d'etre, is that we should attract something from abroad. But if we attract like a company of 10 new and a Danish company outsource 100 jobs, does that make sense? So we are actually discussing with our board of governors right now that whether we should change the framework to internationally orientated companies. So actually open up for a big change in mindset there, where we don't necessarily only work with international companies. We work with internationally orientated, also meaning Danish companies. So I think something is happening in that area as well. I think this has been greatly covered also from your, and especially also from some of the things said yesterday and from what you said, Bertel, is that the city, the region becomes more and more important in the talent attraction area. And Paul, can I allow myself to brag that we ended up in the pilot though? I promise you to say that every time. It's the pilot testing of the Global Talent Competitiveness Index on a city level. We ended up this year. It's going to be changed in a short while, so I better brag while we are still #1. The problem with coming out as #1 the first year is that it can only go bad next year. So you can only go down or maintain. And is it a good story to maintain your position? Not really. So thanks a lot, Paul, for making it difficult, but thanks for being at the top level. But when we have this topic, I'd rather dive down to some of the basics of why I think we had the chance of being there. When I was employed 4.5 years ago in Copenhagen capacity to take this talent initiative and try to develop it from there, the first project was called the Copenhagen Talent Bridge. And I was actually employed to take that project further. I saw me traveling out to the world. I haven't been to South Korea. I thought I was traveling there. I spent 2 years biking over the bridges in Copenhagen to talk with all the other stakeholders involved in that area of talent attraction, talent retention. Denmark is a country, if you have more than 2 people together, we build an association. So there's association for everything. And everybody thinks they are the most important organizations, including my own organization. So what we needed to do is to get all the different stakeholders together to build a common strategy. And that's actually make Copenhagen your personal business. That's the result of 2 years of work with more than 35 different organizations in order to agree upon what is needed and who does what. So the division of labor is so important. That's why I can concentrate on what I think my organization is the best at, attracting and retaining. Also, we are attracting specialists and retaining very much with the focus on young professionals. Then we have other organizations like International House Copenhagen, which is much better on the welcoming stuff. And they're much better at also retaining and getting the living in. And many of the companies are much better to do that. So it's also a matter of division of labor. So it's really recommended to spend, maybe not 2 years, hopefully you can do it faster than I did it, but spend a lot of time discussing how we can work together. Find that public-private, NGOs has an important role in this area again. The universities, the whole knowledge sector there is very important. So spend that time. And then I think another, and that's the 5th point I'd like to make, is that before talents, they were voluntarily moving for jobs. They still are. You need a concrete value proposition. You won't go somewhere you can except for Berlin maybe at the moment. You maybe move to Berlin just to feel the vibe of Berlin. That's I accept that. But a lot of other places, you would have the job. But what we see is that the living perspectives and the other areas around becomes more and more important as well. So we see so dive into some of your more cultural aspects. I really like, and I have to actually slide, some of the things you say. What is the peculiar thing and the interesting thing about Estonia? So you should dive into your historical assets and see what are there's possibilities there in management style, lifestyle, and so on. And then I think, I mentioned it yesterday, you're given some great examples. So you really need to think of the innovation part, stand out, what is peculiar for your, and I actually took the same. I think that this was the winner of the Olo polar bear pitching thing. He could stay in for more, what was it, 4 or 5 minutes? He stayed in a 0, 0, 0.
It's 4 degrees, yeah.
It's 4 degrees, the water, yeah. So, and he was a good pitcher. So of course that, I have this Austin Texans done a great thing. They actually had a musical festival. And they started combining this. They were very known in Austin, Texas for this music festival. And then they started combining with tech startups, working with all kinds of entertainment industry stuff. And then it's become a huge thing. So they took what they had, so to say, and worked on that and really are standing out. Austin is something completely different today, both seen from Austin as a country or as a city, but also compared to Houston. The perspective Americans have about Austin is very different from the perspective they have of Houston, just to take 2 examples. So these are some of the thoughts that we're diving into, and when we dive into it, it's not only seen from one perspective, whether it's the public or the private sector, we try to see it as a thing in common. And I never forget to mention the book. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much, Nikolai. Interesting example with Austin. Nantes in France used to be a worn-down area in France, in Western France. And they did tourism, lots of efforts with tourism. Exhibits, elephants, real life-sized elephants on the streets, sharks housed, houses turned upside down, put on the street, children can climb on top of those, so this fun touristy stuff you can climb and walk through, and crocodiles and such, so fun stuff. It became the loopiest city in France, as The Guardian put it. Now they have a similar tech event in the autumn, so at the very end of the tourism season. So they have managed to go from nothing to a tourism place, getting all the attention and the buzz in France and elsewhere, and then using that to up their digital and ICT agenda. So using that as a platform. But now, this is a workshop, and as said, we will now invite you just to come here down to this pit here with us. Use the whiteboards, write down your key takeaways and some questions you may have, that this is needed, you see this challenge, how could we answer this? And remember to write in an understandable handwriting, because we, the 3 of us, will be here walking around. You can talk with us as well. And we'll then, after about 10 minutes, sum these keywords up. So remember, this is organized by Work in Estonia and the Estonian Business Chamber. So if you're a local stakeholder, keep that in mind. This is a European Migration Network and an EU event. So if you come from that area, please make your way here and then put down some keywords and ideas related to perhaps a more EU level, if that's what you wish. So please, come on down here and write down some keywords. seats, and we'll do our best to sum up the keywords that we have here. Maybe we just start from here. Up next after this is coffee. So we are painfully aware of being in the way of your coffee break. So let's perhaps start. I'll read out the things we have here, and then please, dear panelists, you're welcome to join me here and have a look. A company has its own talent policy as big bank, talent-based solutions. Apparently that's a good takeaway. There's no question mark behind that. But how to deal with perception if you're trying to reach out for talent and not developing domestic potential? Poaching talent.
I guess maybe it's meaning that why you are not developing your own talent in your own country and hiring from abroad. Is this a question?
It seems so, yes. Well,
yeah. For example, I can bring an example in Estonia that we are lacking a lot of technology people, and this is not a secret, or is a big secret for all. So of course we are developing them. For example, in big bank, it's very usual that people learn from each other. For example, developers are working together, and if someone wants to become a developer, they sit together and they are learning the code. And we have very good examples who have done it. So we are developing our own people. And of course, in the universities, people learn already. But as our company is hiring already very experienced people, then we don't offer a lot of opportunities for students. So maybe in the future, yes. But right now, we see that a lot of experienced, talented people are coming from abroad.
And there is the color blindness from companies, as you quoted, Nikolai, that a company is colorblind to talent. Talent is talent. Think of it as a resource you need. And talent it's not a zero-sum game. A foreigner does not come here to take away a job. They come here to help big bank and other companies, big and small, to drive forward their growth. And if a company grows, they can hire more people, probably from the local talent pool as well. But if there are no people matching the skill needs, they need to come from elsewhere. But it's up to the national government to do as much as they can to train and retrain the people here as well. The Ministry of Communication and Economy is going through a pilot project, I believe, to train programming, to teach programming to random people. So with no technical background, teachers, students, everybody, as a part of a pilot to get people the future skills.
Can I pick one? Is that a possibility?
Let's pick, yes.
Am I on? Yeah. I think there's an interesting point here. The question is, or the remark is, as reputation is so important, how can we reach diaspora networks? I think that's actually a very interesting point as well. And I would like to highlight the Irish here. They've doing a great job, actually, in a very Connect Island, the program is called. So I think there's lots of learnings that we have actually looked into, whether we could learn a lot from them. You can say the Danish diaspora, if we can't paint the world green as the Irish can once a year with the St. Patrick's Day. But nevertheless, you can work with these lines, and also having some of these people, often if they go abroad and they get a great career, they like to give something back. So we've built up what we call the Copenhagen Goodwill Ambassador Corps, which is experienced Danes living abroad. We have 65 in the Corps who are doing connections and working with the local communities there, and also doing common projects, for instance, in Mexico, together with some of the universities. So I think there's much to be exploited here. And then, of course, that knits into your work as well, because in Denmark, it's been a big discussion. If you've been living abroad for more than 28 years, then you're actually seen as a foreigner when you repatriate. So there's also, and even though you haven't lived abroad for long, if you are married to somebody, when you actually went abroad, that's obvious sometimes, then it's very difficult to bring your partner back. And there's there's actually things that are needed there with the regulatory frame as well to be worked on.
You mentioned Mexico. Mexico has a talent network as well, a global talent diaspora. Met them in Helsinki, out of all places. And what the person told me, the country manager, was that they are aware that they cannot attract or re-attract many people back to Mexico because they can't, because they're here, families, work life, different salaries, etc. But what they can do, as every network probably can do, and Eindhoven can tell a lot about it, is how to be relevant. How to be relevant to your network partners, to give them some sort of input, content marketing, if you will. To give some sort of lectures or online courses or what have you. What give you a reason to be inside a network. And even if the ultimate goal would be to steal you back, well, you cannot do that. What else could you do to have a conversation with people?
Actually, if I may, I saw one point there, new ideas for inspirational campaigns for talent attraction. So what I see is that you really need to do some campaigns. And you really need to come up with some brilliant ideas, how to promote your company or even the country. So what we have done is that we do these test works. And there is a really great test developed by our own developers, which is Dragons of Maglor. And you can find it on our webpage. And people really try it out. And we have got a lot of contacts through this game. There are actually 2 games in it. And they are developing the new one already. So this is what we can really send to different countries to put up on the pages. And I know that right now Work in Estonia is also putting together one page where they collect all these test tasks from different companies in Estonia so that people can see and can do these tests, and maybe they also find some good jobs through it.
That sounds like a wonderful initiative.
Yeah.
Let's move over to the other aisle and let's see what we have over there. I see already from here that place matters, collaboration have been highlighted, talents are circulating. Okay, but let's maybe find a question or 2 or 3 we can maybe address.
That's interesting.
Yeah, only a few companies actually hire foreigners, though lots talk about it. How to improve the situation and change the mindset within the company and hire more international managers.
So how to change the mindset, maybe from the company side, I can say that it wasn't easy. Because you have to get on board the management board and also to tell people that actually we will have an employee from a very far away company. You have to start talking in English. These are rather tough things. And at the beginning, I am really honest, it wasn't that easy. And but it takes time, and people realize that these people who come from other countries, they are normal people like us. And if you help them to integrate, and you really care for them, you make this team responsible for them, then it works. And I don't think that hiring managers like myself think that, no, we will not hire some guy from, I don't know, very far country. He's so different, might have a different religion, might talk and walk differently as we do. Doesn't matter. He's a talent.
Yeah. If I can supplement that, is that it's often what we try to do in assisting companies is to give them a possibility of trying it out. So we have a program called Go International, which is for SMEs who are going to export or expand their export markets, going into a new market. They can actually have, for half a year, they can have an export practitioner, as we call it. And then they can try it out. And by the first, 14 companies that tried, 12 of them employed the person afterwards, because it changed from being this possibly Palestinian into a name. That was Mohammed that was employed. So simply, that was a test, like a way of trying it out. And they were not signing up for more than half a year of employment. So that's a possibility of like giving the possibilities of testing it out for companies.
And again, in Helsinki, there's the internationalization campaign, the competition for companies organized by the Business Chamber of Helsinki, and they will have an award gala on the 5th of October. Have a look, follow that. Online, elsewhere, press releases. They did a specific thing, a competition to recognize and spread the word, because yes, everybody talks about it as is written, but people sort of don't want to move or start talking in English or something like that. You will see examples in Helsinki on the 5th of October.
And then walk the talk. If you have a full Danish team trying to attract foreigners, yeah, so Leonardo, it's great you're here. So we should actually move forward ourselves also in how we think and who we work together with. So I have a very international team, and that's very recommended.
But Nikolai, there's a question here that it's vital that private sector would not be fighting against each other, collaborate to attract foreign talent. Yeah. How can the public sector support that? And how should companies initiate that? And how was it started in Copenhagen?
Yeah. Yeah, we started up with the most IT savvy of the industries who were really lacking people, the gaming industry, who was really looking for people. And they actually, they were developing all kinds of very different games, but they said the only thing we compete about is talent. But after they have experienced that they had a leapfrogging effect, it's called within industrial relations, that you go from one company and then you leapfrog to another company and the pay raise is then 5,000 more, and then you go to the second company, then it's 10,000 more, and all the companies are just experiencing this wage spiral. So they were very keen on actually working together, because at their first thought, they thought, we can't be in a room together. But when they found out we need to be in a room together in order to solve this, that was the starting point for us, is to find maybe the most pressed industries to start working with and then take it to the next step.
In Gothenburg in Sweden, they had a problem as well. So that's the place where we have Volvo, AstraZeneca, and other big industries and companies, and they needed talent yesterday, years ago. So finally, after scattered initiatives here and there, after trying to get this off the ground, they finally had enough, and the Chamber of Commerce was then tasked to come up with a plan. And the plan, this was the first stage, they discussed the plan at length. They anchored it, they presented plans, what we would do in a year. The second year, how shall a steering group and management board be set up? Private companies, public companies, how will it be financed? Who does what? How do we oversee the plans? All of these things, for months it was dragging on. But finally they got to a solution that has been working for 2 or 3 years now, successfully so, expanding the team, doing campaigns, improving the materials online, etc. So there needs to be a spark from somewhere. It's probably a public sector organization that will lead it, but everybody needs to pitch in and understand that egos and logos need to be left outside the door, and you need to understand that you're all in this together. Competing with one another, but if all eyes aren't on Tallinn or Riga or Helsinki, then nobody's coming here in the first place. But I think our time is up.
Yeah,
do you have anything to add?
No, there are a lot of good ideas and questions too, but yeah.
There's the coffee break. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much.
Okie doke. I think we're just about ready. The delayed coffee break. Okay. The clock tells me we have 1 hour, 20 minutes, and 32 seconds to co-collaborate and think about retaining talent. So we talked a lot about attraction before. And to me, the attraction talent thing, there's a bit of an overlap, because some of the factors you think about attracting are obviously going to be the same factors about retaining. So I spoke yesterday, I gave a little bit of introduction, and that's actually in the bio thing, but I'll let my colleagues introduce themselves.
Hi everyone, so my name is Beth Warner. I'm an Associate Director at Deloitte. So I work predominantly in the London office. So we help organisations, so at that organisational level, look at their global workforce or global mobility programme, thinking about where they are now, where they can get and where they want to get to, so how they better align with their talent and business objectives. So I do a lot of facilitation, a lot of conferences such as this, and I also lead our eminence part of our business. So in this presentation today, you'll see a lot of trends, statistics. So Deloitte themselves do a lot of surveys, as you can imagine. So I lead that part of the business as well.
Okay. Hello, my name is Siiri Sutt. I'm from Deloitte Estonian office. And I joined Deloitte at the beginning of this year, and before that I was expat myself, altogether for 9 years, living in the United States and Luxembourg. And my focus was really helping these expat families. So you always have to think that besides the international employee, you have also the employee's family. So this was my focus past 7 years, and I have moved myself for 4 times with 3 kids who were at that time babies or toddlers or teenagers or high school students. So I have a very extensive experience myself about this expat life.
Cool, thank you. Okay, so this was advertised as a workshop, which maybe gets lost in translation between countries. So in a Deloitte world, we workshops we call labs. We'd have you standing, running around, drawing stuff, eating crazy food, sat on weird furniture, but we're in an auditorium, so we're going to try and make this work a little bit. So it's Friday. We've had, what, I don't know, a day and a half of presentations. So now I'm a facilitator. You guys do the work. So here's a little problem for you to get us ready to think about this talent retention. So I work in management consultancy, so we do a lot with boxes. There's a big box here, and then we're going to do some box. If you can't put it in a box, you can't solve the world, right? If you can't put it in 4 boxes, you definitely can't solve the world. So here's the challenge, which everyone I know, so you can't get out of this, has a pen and a piece of paper, right? You had them in your bags, yeah? So get a piece of paper and a pen. Let's go. Pen, paper, and I'll show you what to do. If you don't have one, note to organizers, it obviously wasn't that valuable to put a piece of pen and paper in your bag. So once you have your pen and paper, you must draw 9 dots. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, like that? That's easy, right? Okay. The challenge. You have a pen and 9 dots. You must draw a line, straight lines, through all the dots, just using 4 lines. So connect all the dots using 4 lines without taking your pen off the paper. Yeah? Does that make sense? You have 20 seconds to do this. Yeah? So try and connect them. I don't know. 1, 2, 3. No, it doesn't work. So try and connect them all. 4 lines. 9 dots, 4 lines, 20 seconds, go. It's not a trick. It can be done. This is not a trick. Okay, anyone got it? Hands up. Anyone got it? Yeah, 1 person? Cool. Right. It's not a trick. How do you do it? You start here. We go up. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? Now here's the consultant bit. What have we done? We've gone outside the box, right? You've got to think outside the box. Same question, right? Draw 9 dots. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Same question, but do it with 3 lines. So what I thought last time you said was, that's difficult. Now this is like really thinking, so okay. So 3 lines, it can be done. Okay, this is where you start booing me. This is how you do this one, right? So we start down in, I don't know, South Africa. And we draw a line, and it comes here. It goes, oh, it just touches those. And it goes all the way up there, all the way up there, over there. And it comes all the way back down. It goes all the way down. And then it goes all the way back up. Now, we're really thinking outside the box. That's the point, right? What if I said you could do it with 1 line? How would you do it? Yeah, 1 big pen. Right? I didn't say you had to use that pen. What else? I like it. Yeah, there you go. You could take the paper. You said that you could take the paper, make it into a cylinder. You could cut the dots out, put them on top of each other. Right? And this is what we call about really coming up with different ideas, right? So when you think about talent attraction, retention, you hear all these nice presentations about, okay, we need highly skilled people. We need to rebrand our cities. We need to rethink about how we engage. My challenge to you is, are you really doing anything that is that different, that innovative, is going to make you stand out? Otherwise, it all just becomes noise, right? So how do you change that dynamic? So think outside the box, really think outside the box. Okay, so we're going to split this into 3 parts. So 1, I'm going to talk about the bigger context, the HR, bigger mega trends. And Siri's going to go from an Estonia perspective, and then we're going to drill down from the organizational perspective, and you'll see those connecting themes. So we talked a little bit about this yesterday. 2 books. Have you read these 2 books? So we have The World is Flat. So this is the bit about people say, 7 or 8 years ago, we'll all become connected, technology, Internet of Things, therefore the world is flat. So people are like, yeah, that makes sense. We can all work virtually. We don't need to move around. The other book, I'm sure people haven't read, it's fascinating. DHL. Have you read that book? The DHL Index around global connectedness. So they've just updated, actually. They have 1 million data points in there. 1 million. And what it says is, no. It's not flat. We're becoming less connected in some sense. Less connected as in people are migrating to cities to become more connected there. And if you look at those cities, these are kind of the big mega cities. The top number is the highly, highly skilled. And the number below it is the different nationalities. And what we're seeing trending over time is, so when you talk about smaller cities, these bigger cities are getting bigger. They're getting more international. They're really attracting the highly, highly skilled people, right? And this is a dynamic which is not going away. So when you think about your own country, your own city, your own organization, bear this in mind, it's kind of evolving. Then you ask yourself, do cities become more important than countries, right? So there was a lot post-Brexit in the UK. Essentially, everyone in London said, no. We like being part of Europe. Everyone outside of London said, I don't get this. Back to that, what we were talking about yesterday, Stan was saying the 2 different cultures, right? Benefits or no benefits. And then people in London saying, well, maybe we should have a London passport, a London visa, right? Why not? That makes sense to me, okay? So what do we end up with? We end up with this world of what we call this hour-shaped glass. This is what someone referred to yesterday. Theoretically, you have the hollowing out of this workforce here. So you have the low-skilled, contingent workforce at the bottom, right? So we tell them where to go, how much we pay them, and what work we give them. The highly skilled are at the top here, and they tell you where I'm going to go. They tell you how much you're going to pay me. They tell you how you're going to treat me. So you as an organization, whether you're a government organization or a corporate organization, have to think about this. You're not in control. So can you change the way you think about mobilizing people? Can you change the way you would actually hire these people? Can you change the way you reward these people? And this is what companies are doing now. They're fundamentally changing their models. Because the model we've all used to attract, retain, and employ people within an organization has been the same the last 30 to 50 years. And now is a different dynamic. Okay, so when we think about retention, you've got to look at some of those root causes of attraction. And I touched upon this yesterday. So we crowdsourced 2,500 people across the EU, sort of post-Brexit. I'm not just going to go on about Brexit, but it gives you a sentiment of what people think about where they work and what they look for. And it's not that difficult. Number one, job opportunities. Maybe we need some good jobs. So you can brand all that good stuff, but you need to have some good opportunities. If there's no opportunities, you are wasting your time. Cultural diversity, really important, right? So if you don't have a diverse cultural city, then why would people who feel slightly different want to work somewhere where they're the odd one out, right? So again, how can you rebrand yourselves? Globally connected. Again, this kind of concept of, well, if I'm this type of person, so I want to move to a place where I still feel like this type of person. And then ones you would typically, do you think these change in any other city? I want good lifestyle for me and my family. I want good work-life balance. So when you think about attraction and retention, ask yourself those questions. Are we doing those fundamental things for people? When the UK, we asked people inside the UK, outside the UK, what's going to continue to make it attractive? And to me, I think there'd be slight differences in other countries, but the same sort of thing. It's basic sort of things. Yeah, cost of housing. Any other city in the world have that problem? Everyone has that problem. So how can we think differently, out of the box about this, right? So I'll give you a Deloitte example. We hire the most graduates in the world than any other company, right? So they say, well, that's nice, I want to work in London, but it sucks trying to find a house, right? So in the Olympic Park in London, we pay all the leases, deposits for all our graduates. And then it gets them over the hurdle of coming to London and kind of work like that, yeah? Again, you have to kind of get through those kind of barriers. Positive statements, and I think that was great, the conversations the last few days about this branding. You've got to kind of brand the statements about, yeah, we are globally cultural, we are connected, otherwise why would people come? And again, this is probably a little bit about UK health, supporting families, this work-life balance. If you cannot address these fundamental questions, you're not going to retain any of these people. Okay, the other bit, so jobs. You need to have good jobs, right? Everyone talks about just jobs and jobs, what kind of jobs? So this graph here shows, again, the number of EU citizens by sector working in certain sectors. And on the bottom, the weighted probability of automation, right? So if you actually look at productivity of employees since the financial crisis, in most countries, it's the same. We've got less productive. That's why there's high employment. That's why there's low wage inflation. So we have more people employed, we're not paying it anymore, and they're not even any more productive. Do you think that, in a European context, is a talent magnet? Do you think that's going to retain people, right? So you must create better jobs. So therefore, you get to think, how do we make ourselves more productive? We must start thinking about technology in its broader sense to make those jobs more meaningful, right? So are we doing a good job around that? So all these crazy colors here, what are we asking business leaders around the world? Are you thinking and ready for the organization of the future? And this is about the organization who thinks globally, is connected, thinking about the future skills of their workforce. Are you looking at the augmented workforce, okay? So you're looking at crowd. Are you looking at contingent workers? Are you looking at robots? Are you thinking about it in totality, right? And the same with cognitive computing and AI. Are organizations doing this? And what we see, we suck at it in the UK, and we're not very good at it in East and Western Europe. You know who the winners are? This is what you should be more worried about, attracting talent to EU. Our friends in India, China, and Korea. They are accelerating their thoughts into this. They've just decided to leapfrog us. right? So if you want to talk about automation and RPA robotics, go to China, go to Korea, because they have great state-sponsored programs filtering through organizations to do that. Why? To make jobs more, raise productivity, create better high-skilled jobs, raise wages, right? If we can't do that, again, you're wasting your time around attracting foreign talent, right? And we talk about the EU numbers going down. You're not going to attract anyone from India. Someone said, let's bring people from Indonesia or India or China. Why would they? No, why? They're going to stay where they are. They're not coming here. So you have to, again, do something different. Be more deliberate. Okay, the other bit we haven't talked, we sort of touched upon it the last few days, upskilling workers. This is a bugbear of mine, right? So again, got to get to the root cause of this. So we talk about attraction. You need people with different skills, right? And we need to think bigger about those skills. So from a European perspective, are we really looking at creating an education systems, or even within an organization, as we talked about yesterday, primaries all the way down to create the things we need in the future. So if you look at, what is it, the primary school people now, or people in primary education, I think it was like their jobs, we don't even know what jobs they'd be doing, right? But we know what skills they need, and these are the most sensible, so while STEM skills are important, we want people to know customer knowledge, speaking skills, vision, critical thinking. And again, ask yourselves, in your countries, your organizations, are you thinking about this? Are you really training these, encouraging these sort of skill sets? If you're not going to solve this problem. On the right-hand side, these are the ones that are kind of growing. And the left-hand side, these ones are disappearing. So again, we're looking at skills in higher demand, where philosophy, biology, fine arts, and the ones that are disappearing are kind of the mechanical ones, right? So again, you have to fundamentally rethink about training. And to me, the answer to this retention problem is contingent on attraction, but it's this kind of these three buckets. So the role of technology, the new skills and training, and controlled migration. So people talk about open migration. I'm talking about controlled migration. Migration which really focuses on the proper, what we call actually the highly skilled. And there's no neat answer. It's a combination of those three things. And there's no one person that can do this. This is governments, policymakers, educators, and corporate organizations. And you know what the problem is? None of them talk to each other. They're all disconnected. They all approach this problem on their own as an organization, not a collective of organizations, not across countries, not across governments, right? Not across education. That is the answer. And the weird thing is, I work a lot with just global organizations. They have the same problem, disconnected. So when we think about talent, retention, and attraction in human resources, there's only so many things an organization does, right? When they think about their workforce, their global workforce, what levers can you pull? Well, we can acquire people, talent acquisition. We can mobilize talent, so talent mobility, so I could do that. I could think about L&D, development, so how do I train people over time? Or I can think about the skills of the future, plan, right? So those are the things you can pull. But do you know what happens in an organization? These are all separate departments. They never connect this equation together, right? And they just go down one way. So we worked with a company in Switzerland who make chocolate. I don't know who they are, but they were saying, in China, we're growing in China. China, we're growing 10, 20% a year. Wow, cool. How are you doing that? He goes, well, okay, so we recruit, acquisition, hire. So they apply, we want 100 general managers. They had 200,000 applications in China, right? And how many of those did they hire? 30. And I was like, what's going on? And he was like, because the skills aren't there. Because as an organization, we're like, hire. But actually the answer was, imagine a glass, a little bit of hiring. But actually, you need to start thinking, well, those skills don't exist there, so you may have to mobilize some people and therefore we talk about cost. That's okay, because you can't hide them. So bringing people in from Switzerland is actually cheaper and better, right? And 2, can you start thinking about how you train general managers with international skill sets of the future? Wow, okay? So this is where organizations are going. Can you connect these worlds? Can I connect this equation, how I acquire, borrow, build, and advance? These are the winning organizations who connect these things together, think about their global workforce, supply, demand, and they're doing some really interesting stuff, right? So how do you start thinking about this stuff? So we work with organizations and using AI to really understand their skill sets. So what one company has, every employee, every time you write an email, every time you do a PowerPoint presentation, every time you go on the company website or read a blog, the AI is learning about you. And it's giving you a real-time LinkedIn profile saying your skill sets are X, Y, Z this week, because work's getting specialized. So what people are good at is changing, not every year, every 3 years, every 2 or 3 months. So they use this information to build a picture up of their skill sets. And then they can say, well, who is Bitcoin specialist in financial services in China? And they can work that out pretty quickly. The machine is learning, and it says, oh, it's Dave. It's not always Dave, but it's Dave, right? So Dave's, okay, and then they can match those skills. That's an organization, right? Imagine that across countries, right? Could you work out that? This supply-demand mismatches, who are those skills, right? And this is where we get to thinking outside the box. Okay, so that's the global bit. Now we'll go through the Estonian bit, but hopefully you'll see some similarities.
Okay, I'll give a very short overview of the international workforce in Estonia. So probably you heard already many stories yesterday and also this morning. What does Estonian government do and what do Estonian companies do? These overall demographic trends are actually influencing Estonia as well. An aging population, urbanization, low birth rates. Estonia has one of the fastest aging population in Europe. And it is predicted, we have 1.3 million people right now, and it's predicted that it will decrease up to 1 million. And we need approximately 22,000 professionals during next 10 years. And while we can cover most of the need ourselves, we still need international workforce. And we need to do something to think how we can attract these foreign talents coming to Estonia. IT sector has been a pioneer in recruiting from abroad. It all started in 2003 when Skype was founded and when they built up their office in Tallinn. And it was really multicultural. And I think that Skype was kind of like a role model for many Estonian companies. And it still is. Actually, last week it got the prize as being the best employer of the year. And Skype was like magnet. It somehow attracted a lot of IT people from all over the world coming to Estonia, and a lot of startups were founded, and IT sector started to flourish thanks to Skype, I would say, or at least this was one of the reasons. And when we look at the international workforce today in Estonia, high-skilled workers, we can say that the majority of them, they work in IT sector. So I think that in all IT companies in Estonia, there are foreign employees. And so the people who migrate to Estonia, what is the age? The statistics say that the average age of the people who migrate to Estonia is 20 to 39 years. So this doesn't mean that these are all the people who come here for work. It's the all the people who migrate to Estonia for different reasons. But a lot of HR people who recruit from abroad, they say that most of the people they recruit from other countries are really very young and single, and that gives a different perspective to HR managers. So how to manage these very young people who are very adventurous, ready for challenges, and ready to move right away. So for very many people who come to work to Estonia, Estonia is like the first step to European working culture. As you see, a lot of expats come from Russia, from Ukraine, and especially those people consider Estonia as the first step, and it's kind of easy for them to adjust in this country because we have a very large population who speak Russian. We have Russian language schools, and it's a very smooth way to go further. So, as I mentioned, the biggest group of expats are from Russia, from Ukraine, and you see the number there that 48% of people who immigrated to Estonia last year, they were actually Estonians, which is very good because those Estonians who emigrated some years ago, who went abroad to study or work, they are actually coming back. So Estonia has had this worry about a big number of emigration, but it seems that somehow we shouldn't have been so worried because a lot of people decide to come back. Now, what makes Estonia as a good destination country for work? Today we heard many stories already and what makes the country attractive. There was a research done for Work in Estonia program a couple of years ago, and expats were asked what are the reasons why did they move to Estonia. So the number one reason was a very exciting and challenging job. So as we know, most of the people are from IT sector. The IT people saw that in Estonia, IT sector is really flourishing. There are very cool projects. They can be part of creating something interesting and new, and that was the reason why they decided to come to Estonia. And also, most of the organizations in Estonia have quite flat organizational culture. We don't have such a hierarchical organizations, especially in IT, and that is what people like. And very young people who come to work here, they realize soon that they are part of decision making. They can be part of different work groups in the organization, and that is something that is exciting for them. And those people who want to do career, it is quite easy to climb up on the career ladder very quickly compared to some other countries. And there is very little bureaucracy in Estonia compared to very many countries. And the life is easy thanks to very many e-services, filing the taxes or doing some contracts with the bank or some other organization. So everything is digital. You can, you don't have to waste your time on bureaucracy. And also living environment. For many people, it is important that we have very fresh air here. We have a wonderful nature, and also the work-life balance is quite good compared to very many countries. So what are the challenges? When I talk to many recruiters who recruit IT people from very many different countries, they say that the number one challenge is that people don't know about Estonia. It's a very small country with quite a short history as an independent country, far in the north. So people from India or Brazil or countries like that, they really don't know about it. So we have a lot of work to do to introduce our country as a destination to go for work. So, and also the location. We are quite far in the north, and the connectivity is maybe not the best one. So those people who want to go back home to visit their families and friends, they find it quite difficult to find direct flights to the very many destinations. And for example, I think that there are maybe, let's say, direct flights to London once a day, if not every day, you have the experience. But if we compare to Luxembourg, that is a much smaller country than we are, they have 7 to 9 flights every day to London. So it really makes a difference how quickly you can go to different places. And employee wellness. So what I'm thinking here is the possibility to offer English language education for children, and also the spouse support. We heard yesterday how important it is to engage also spouses. When you hire an employee who comes with a family, the organization should think about it, that this family is important as well. Different research says that the assignments that are ended before they should be ended are because of the problems in the family. Either the kids are not happy at school, or the spouse is unhappy at home, because usually these high-skilled people, their spouses are also high-skilled employees, and they want to do also something. So it's very, very important to help the whole family, because if the kids do not, let's say, don't like the school, or they do not adjust at school, it's a very bad experience for them. And believe me, my kids have told me several times that we ruined their lives because we dragged them to different countries and different schools, and these things are important. And companies actually can do a lot to help the employees and also their families to feel very welcome here and help their adjustment. Estonian government launched a program, welcoming program, 2 years ago, which is a wonderful help for very many people who move to Estonia. So it is aimed for newly arrived foreigners, either employees or students or researchers, and also refugees. And this is financed by the European Union via the European Social Fund and also the Ministry of the Interior of the Republic of Estonia. And the number of people who have attended those courses are over 2,000 now. This number there, it was until summer in some point, so it's much bigger. And the most popular is the Estonian language program. And it's very important, knowing the local language is one of the key factors when people want to adjust in a different country. So this makes the adjustment much smoother and faster, and people really feel integrated, even if they speak a little bit of local language. I have heard many companies saying that, we don't need the local language, you know, these people are interacting only with each other, they speak English at work, and after work they are all together anyway. But actually, this is not the case most of the times. People feel much more at home and integrated when they know at least the basics of the local language, because you have to go shopping every day, or you have to go to the hairdresser, or do other things as well besides communicating with your co-workers. And now, although the government program is really fantastic and helps a lot of organizations, organizations themselves have to do these things, have to support their talent as well. So it's not only the government that can do all the work. And I have 4 examples here from Estonia, what the companies are doing. And for me, actually, when we are talking about how to retain foreign talent, actually it's the same how to retain our local talent. What's the difference? You have to pay attention to all your people in your organization, not only foreign talent. And you cannot separate that, okay, I'll do this program for foreigners and this program for local people. So the overall events or initiatives are important. TransferWise is one of the top fintech startups in Estonia. Everybody is talking about that. Yesterday we had a speaker from TransferWise, and they say that they have quite typical benefits in the company for all the people, which are very typical in most of IT companies. They have fair salary, but the main thing actually that attracts people and also retains them is the mission and is the culture of the company. So their mission is to make the world of finance fairer. And they say that actually they want to do the revolution in banking. So everybody knows that when you transfer money from one country to another, you pay a lot of money to the bank. So this is what they want to do, that they want to change it. They want to do the world fairer. And this mission helps them to attract talent and also keep them. And instead of hierarchical culture, they are working in teams. And these teams are really very inspirational. They inspire each other, and working with super smart colleagues makes their everyday job really challenging and interesting. So this is one reason. Now, the largest financial institution based on local capital, LHV or LHV, like we say here, they pay attention to self-development a lot and promoting startup mindset. You might think that bank is a very traditional institution and very bureaucratic, but LHV has a little bit different approach. They try to do the life in the organization much simpler and more interesting for employees, and they promote this startup feeling in the company, and a lot of events people are doing together to build the team. The number of foreigners working in LHV right now is not too big, but it's growing all the time, so there is definitely a need to bring in more foreign talent. Arvato Bertelsmann is a call center and IT development center. They have about 350 people working in Estonia. There are people speaking in 14 different languages in the company. 1/4 are foreigners. And for them, again, self-development and career possibilities is number one that attracts the people and also keeps them in the company. And also social responsibility. Younger generation younger generations do not think about work only as a way of earning money. They really want to do something that matters, and social responsibility is really important. In Arvato, they do a lot of events and trying to give back to the society and to the environment. They go and plant the trees or go and help the communities where there are children in need, etc. And Skype, as I said, it has been always like a role model, and it still is, but Skype says that now they are already a mature startup. So they have this culture of startup, but it's more structured, and maybe the work-life balance is already much bigger than it used to be at the beginning. And people like to work in this company because of the brand and because of these very cool, innovative projects. And they really like this feeling that the company is very family-friendly, and mobile working is absolutely part of their culture. So if we wrap it up, we can say that money and benefits is not the things that keep people in the organization. It's the organizational culture, it's the employee experience, and challenging, interesting, cool job.
Thanks, Siri.
So,
Thank you. Dreaded words, group exercise. That means it's over to you guys. So what we want everyone to do, we're going to do a really quick exercise, hopefully, where, as Andy said, we've got this box here. So we're going to need everyone to stand up, and we're going to need everyone to come down to the stage here, outside of the box, first of all. And we're just going to ask you a few questions and get your viewpoints on some of the things we spoke about. So everyone needs to get up. There's 72 of you, I counted. So if I don't have 72 people down here, someone's in trouble. Thank you.
Stretch your legs, come down. They've been sat for a while. Come on, hang out. Get to know everyone. Don't worry, we won't make you sing or anything like that. All you're going to do is use your feet. That's it. So don't be worried. It's a feet exercise. All you need is feet. Bring your feet with you.
I can see a few people have forgotten how to use their legs. So this is how you do it. If you could do that for me, that would be awesome.
So hang out around the box.
Thank you.
Talking about boxes, it's got to be in the box, out the box. Think bigger than the box.
Okay, this is a bit more simple than Andy's.
Come around.
This is a bit more simple than Andy's task that he made you do right at the beginning, I promise. So we have some few questions for you, and they're yes or no questions. Very, very simple. If your answer to these questions are yes, you step inside of the box. You're going to get to know each other very, very well.
That's a yes, okay? If you're a no, you stay here, right? Yes?
Does anyone not understand the rules of this? Good, okay. Okay, question number... whoa. We have a rebel. Okay, question number 1. Do you consider your country successful in attracting talent from overseas? Yes, in the box. No, outside the box.
Your country, your city, your organization. Come on. Oh, some more people are thinking about it now. Oh, it's a yes.
Do we have a mic? Someone at the back, can we bring down a mic?
Where is the microphone?
Maybe. We'll come back. Okay. Question number 2. Is your organization or is your country
Step back outside.
planning for the skills they will require in the future? Is your country or organization planning for skills they'll require in the future?
Are you looking further out? What skills do we need in the future?
There is a mic.
Half in the box. Oh, it's a halves. Maybes. I like the maybes. It's like, yeah. Right.
Country and organization. And if you're half and half, you can, yeah, that's nice. Half and half, stand up.
So does anyone give an example of how you're doing this? You want to give an example, anyone? Yeah? Yeah, okay. Do you need that? It's loud, we're hanging out.
Brainport schools, new skills, primary schools, secondary schools. It's my story, but it's very important.
Yeah, skills are primary. Anyone doing anything different? Ooh, that was a, yeah.
Well, I'm doing a future of jobs project or future of work project, and skills is, of course, one of the main topics.
Okay. Anyone else? No? Okay.
How about people outside of the box? Why are they not doing that? What's the challenge?
What's the maybe? I'm interested in maybe. What's maybe? There's a few maybes.
It's not really maybe. I think we're doing some of it,
but
okay. There's a long way to go.
Okay.
Yeah, so we do plan, we do have the numbers of how many people we're lacking by 2030, but there's no clear, really structured action plan to achieve that.
Yeah, right. I like that, right? That's where you get more deliberate action plan, right? Sort of deliberate. Okay, cool.
Okay.
One more? Yeah, no.
Question number 3.
Outside the box. Get out the box. Get out the box, quick.
Question number 3. Does your organization actively promote governmental programs that exist in attracting foreign talent? Does your organization promote the governmental programs that your country has?
So maybe what Siri was talking about, yeah? Or if you are the government, do you think organizations promote your programs? Yeah.
Okay. Can we have some volunteers?
Who's got a good example of what they're doing?
Yeah. Thank you.
Well, we're a relocation company from the private sector, but we always refer people to also the state programs, and we suggest companies to include both our services as well as the state-provided opportunities. So.
Perfect. Pass it to someone else and see what they say.
We always take our guests who are here for the first time to Estonia showroom to show them what we do here in Estonia.
Perfect.
Is that at 1:30 today, 3 o'clock today? Is that by the airport?
That's the same.
The secret
yeah.
invite?
The same thing, yeah. Mm-hmm.
The secret who's going?
Actually, that's a good question. So if you go into this in the afternoon, so you'll go into in the box.
Yeah, I'm going. Who got the secret invite? Okay.
Yeah, he's special. Okay, thank you, everyone. You can sit down now. Thank you very much.
All right, we stretched our legs a little bit now. Thank you for your feet. We'll progress.
Do we need it? We do need it. Me vajame seda, aga see võiks kinni panna nagu.
Don't worry, we won't make you do that again until the end, and then you have to do it again. Okay, so as we said, we've taken sort of the global view. Then we looked at the kind of Estonian perspective. Now I'm sort of bringing it down. This session obviously is about employees, so now I'm bringing it down into the sort of organizational level. So this sort of framework, I guess, is something that we developed in Deloitte through sort of a series of how organizations to think about how they should build their global workforce or global mobility programs. So in and out of their country, expats, globally moving around, business travelers, commuters, your traditional long-term, etc. How do you form a program to support those types of moves on a global level within the organization? So what we're saying here is there's basically an order that you should sort of run through. So rather than sort of jumping to the right-hand side and saying, I need this particular policy to help people move and it should have these benefits in around family support or whatever, rather than jumping to the right-hand side, really you need to answer sort of the first block there, so strategic framework. So and you can think about this on a country level, to be honest, but essentially what industries are we trying to build? What skills are we trying to attract? What types of people are we trying to attract into the organization and move around the globe? Are you looking for a self-serve type approach? Are you looking to develop talent from a junior level? Are you looking to have the future leaders of your business has basically worked in your organization in 4, 5, 6 different markets? What are you actually trying to achieve? And once you do that, that then should tell you basically what your program should look like. So who are you looking after? Who are the people we're talking about here? Based on this, just in case you can't read it, this x-axis says business value, low, high. Y-axis, developmental, low, high. Are you moving a whole bunch of graduates around in your organization? Are you sort of aiming for mid-tier management, talent programs to develop them quickly? Or is it that top right cadre of people, your top 250 of your organization moving around? And to be honest, the way those individuals are treated from a package perspective, how much they self-serve, the vendor support that they're given, that's very, very different. So there's a differentiated approach. It's not just the same type of person moving. And then when you jump to execution framework, that would tell you what your service delivery model looks like. Is it decentralized? What types of vendors do you use? What's your sort of appetite for risk management? What is the level of employee experience, assignee support, and what does that mean? And once you've answered all those questions, that then tells you what your mobility program, or for want of a better word, global workforce program should look like. How many policies do you need? What level of flexibility is in them? What types of vendors do you use? What levels of technology? Do you want people to self-serve themselves, go on an app, or are you going to sit down with them and basically talk them through the whole policy? It's a very, very different approach. In every organization, there's no, unfortunately, no sort of blueprint that I could roll out to countries or organizations today and say, this is how you should set it up. Because ultimately, every organization and country has a different strategy, and that leads you then into a different mobility or workforce program.
Slow down a bit, but that why is really important, right? The why. So give you an example.
Slow down, sorry.
Spoke to the CEO of a French oil company. We're talking about people, and attraction, and different countries. And he said, Andy, I have 2 problems. Number 1, is a French oil company. There's no oil in France. I was like, oh, okay. I could see that. That's a brand problem. And number 2, we're French. I was like, oh, what do you mean by that? And he goes, from an attraction and retention, no one believes, like if I go to Indonesia, our office there, or Bangladesh, none of them believe they could ever be the CEO of this company because our mindset and our culture is very French. So they built the whole program, how they think about mobility and moving people to get over that barrier, right? So you talk about non-obvious candidates. So we have this unconscious bias that the best people to do these jobs are the people I know who look like me, think like me. So you've got to break that down and redevelop it, right? Another example, this is how organizations think, right? So if you want to attract organizations to your country, city, you've got to break these mindsets. So a bank, they said, Andy, I got a lot of these questions. Can you explain this? In a financial institution, big global bank, we send 250 people from New York to London, and we send 250 people from London to New York, and it's really expensive. Why are we doing that? Is that really? We think about our strategy, we think about emerging markets, we're putting all our investments in those buckets. These people do the same job, they have the same skills. They're actually part of the same P&L. And he's like, this is completely. So they changed their program to really think about different types of talents. How do you get the non-obvious candidate to really create their business strategy? Right? So why? Such an easy question, but a good question.
Okay, so as promised, some sort of trends. So this is based on Deloitte's Human Capital Survey. It's an annual survey globally. So over 10,000 business HR leaders across 140 countries respond to these. And there's some mobility workforce type questions in this survey. So just to draw out sort of the key points. So the first one here is around 68% of organizations think that global workforce is an enabler for business and talent strategies. But when we ask the question of how good is your organization at doing that, how good is your organization at moving people around the world, 3% said that they were world class. And to be honest, we've asked that question sort of every year. And back in 2012, it was 5%, 2014, 2%, 3%. So it's not really getting any better. And that's because of the complexity of the sort of workforce that we talked about around the different types of people that move. Then in terms of the top one, so business leaders identified 3 goals for mobility. So we use mobility to develop future leaders, We use mobility to retain top talent and attract top talent. And we use mobility to develop a global mindset within the organization. But then there's also some challenges, and I think we've touched upon those over the last couple of days. So one is around the cost, the physical cost of moving these people. Second one was around the employee willingness to move. So not just around how attractive it is to live in the country, but also around the family and children, do they want to move, etc. And then the last one around having a lack of structured sort of internal talent program. So the bit that Andy talks around the link between talent and mobility is sort of siloed. So a challenge there. The other trends that sort of came up that we wanted to talk you through today, so there were 4 sort of key ones. Some will be more familiar and some we've touched upon already. So the first one, this employee-driven global workforce program, going back to it's the employees that we need to think about, and those types of employees are changing much, much more than they were sort of even 5, 10 years ago. Even when I say employees now, I don't really mean that. I'm meaning every individual that could work for the organization. And that might be, yes, your balance sheet employees. It could also be, and within those we have commuters, rotators, career expats, global nomads, developmental type assignments, and then outside of the organization. So your people that you get in from a project-based perspective. Andy always uses this example, but I'm going to steal it. There's a girl basically in Bangladesh. She's 19, and Deloitte work with her. So she I don't know whether you guys have heard of it, but there's a company called Topcoder. So basically what happens is, as a business, you put your problem onto Topcoder. And there are people then that bid to basically help you answer that problem. And so she bids and says, I can solve your problem by writing an algorithm, and it's going to cost you X. So we work with this girl, and this girl is basically just sat in her bedroom in Bangladesh, basically writing algorithms to solve these business problems. And she earned $2 million last year. She's not in our organization, very difficult, would have been very difficult to identify her in any other way. She never wants to work for Deloitte. However, she's solving these business problems for us, and she's sat in Bangladesh, probably has never come to London or the US or whatever, but she sits there and writes algorithms to help solve business problems. It's a different problem statement for global workforce. It's not your employees that you can sort of identify, attract, retain in this standard way. These are people outside of the organization that you didn't even know existed.
We didn't pay her $2 million. We gave her a prize, but she wins a lot of prizes with other clients as well.
Yeah, she obviously doesn't work just for Deloitte, but that's the beauty of it, right? She doesn't need to stay loyal to one organization. She works with a variety of organizations solving different types of business problems. The second one that we talked about, so I'll not spend too much time on this, but the mobility and talent acquisition. So the concept that Andy was talking about around how mobility and talent are sort of very siloed. Every department sort of does a different thing. So there's a sort of buy department, a build department, a borrow department. And so they're not having a better sort of talent investment decision-making solution approach. They're very sort of siloed in their way of thinking. The third one is this kind of human side of mobility. So we touch a lot upon sort of technologies invading us. Everything is done on an app now. You can get your sort of assignment documentation and your visa, and that can all be via technology. But there's also a massive human side to this that's probably missing. So this is a person that's sort of moving from one country to another. They probably have their sort of job still in their home country that they're trying to sort of tie up. They've been sent loads of new things about their new job. They're moving with all their family. They've got their spouse or their partner in their ear. What's going on? What am I going to be supported with? So this is a huge, huge change for them. I know some people are very used to moving around, but some are not. Depending on the sort of country and their personal circumstances, it does take that human element. So empathy, walking in their shoes, and actually supporting them throughout that process. So that was the third trend. And then lastly, the fourth one, which was around mobility analytics. So actually being able to use data to predict sort of better assignment successes, thinking about career planning and using that sort of people data that most organizations think doesn't exist, but actually you can use a lot of data to make better decisions. So the cost around taking the example of the financial services and the bank. So to have that data to show they're moving from here, 250 people from here to here and 250 people back. Is there a better way they could do that? Thinking around, is there trends that show assignment successes? Is it people that have studied in an international school that are more likely to succeed when they're on assignment? Things like that. So using people data to make better talent decisions. Just conscious of time, so I'm going to flick through some of these. So, in terms of some examples, so we basically work with, as you can imagine, a number of organizations, but we just wanted to draw out some sort of different examples of what organizations are doing to attract and retain talent. And from an Estonian perspective, obviously, Siri's already covered some of them. So one of them, so the one in the blue here, so flexible work environment. So this is a tech organization, and they allow all of their employees to spend 1 day a week, so 20% of their time, working on any project that they want to, any project that they find interesting within the organization. Doesn't need to be in their own department, doesn't need to be in their own country, but they're allowed to spend 20% of their time working on what they find interesting. In this same organization, you probably actually be able to guess in a moment who this is. But even the way that they set up their office, so they have sort of a campus-type mentality. So there's a fitness center on site, there's a nutritionist, you can go and get a massage, there's a 24-hour gym, and that pervasion of sort of there's a work time and there's a life time, sort of it doesn't really exist anymore. So they've set up a campus to sort of make that environment more attractive to individuals. The one in green there, so dark green, is around agile working. So just out of interest for those who sit in an organization, how many of you have sort of agile working practices within your organization, just by a show of hands? Okay. So this is all around, being able to work from home, being able to work in another country, using technology to be able to do that. And this is sort of on the up. And a lot of individuals are now being able to just log on wherever, whenever, at whatever time. So they're not coming to this traditional sort of, I go to the office 5 days a week mentality. And that's sort of increasing. That's good for the organization. Real estate costs are massive. So to sort of be able to work from home and work in a different location, be able to log on from a cafe, seems to be this sort of trend. So this is one organization that really encourages this agile working mentality. Just touch on a third one here, so the blue, so empowerment. So there's sort of scholarships. This company offers sort of scholarships to study, and they give £1,000 to the individual to study a particular subject that they find interesting. So this is just completely separate to the work they do, but they provide that. Other things, sort of being able to sort of buy holidays, offering sabbaticals to go and do something in the summer, things like that, just tiny little things that are completely different to sort of financial reward and bonus plans and equity. These are just sort of, circumstantial, so working from home or what your office looks like or being able to take additional holiday and be able to buy that from your employer.
I think there's an example of, if you go back to the slide, this really interest in this sort of in-house sort of the well-being and the agile bit. So as you become more agile, people traveling more, perhaps, doing different, rather long-term mobility, shorter term, how do you manage the well-being, right? So there's some companies are starting to connect these two worlds together. So research says your personal resilience, or your health resilience, one of the top biological factors that kind of messes it up is travel and bad sleep, right? So therefore, okay, so if we're encouraging our employees to agile, work around the world, all that stuff, how do we marry those two things? So we work with an organization and use biological markers for their employees. So you wear variable heart rate monitors to kind of measure. You just put it on every morning. It gives you a biological sense of, are you hitting this place where actually my health is not good because I'm traveling, flights, and all that kind of good stuff. And a company provides that service. So they, the outside well-being service, doctors around the world can monitor your statistics and say, Andy, you had a great week last week. You were in China, you were in LA. I saw that, but it looks like your statistics have gone over. And before you tip over, you can reach out to our services to help. And this is where leading organizations are really being proactive. The other one about acquisition. So I'll give you a Deloitte example. So we have different times. We're busy in different countries, say in the audit world. So we ask in London office, our South Africa office, hey, we need 150 auditors to come to the UK for 6 months. Who wants to come? 150 hands go up. Well, that's so cool. Mobility, it's like, low cost. Then we said it's Aberdeen, Manchester, Birmingham. Whew, hands go down. Like, whoa, I thought you meant London. Like, no. Aberdeen, Manchester, like, oh. I'm like, why? These are nice places. Oh, okay. So we go back. And this is where we set up things like immersive mobility, we call it. So we set up rooms in our Johannesburg office. You put the virtual reality on, and you can walk around the Deloitte London office. You can walk around some streets in London where you may live. You can walk around some kind of restaurants. And those sessions we designed for the employees and their families to come. So the kids come around and that. Okay, Aberdeen doesn't suck. Actually, it's quite nice. Look at the office. Oh, look at the beach. There's a beach in Aberdeen. I didn't know about that. And again, you break down those cognitive biases, right? So when you talk about people come to Estonia, or your country, or Eindhoven like that, you can do stuff. And what's the next iteration? Challenge yourselves out of the box. Can you make them feel like they're there already? These are easy things to do, right?
Okay, so final few examples. So these two on the left here are more around sort of social impact type projects. So actually encouraging employees to sort of give something back to the community. So this one on the left here is a company that give an extra week holiday, and with that extra week holiday, they join up with a volunteering project. So that can be like a school or another charity, but they do with that extra week, they're basically on a volunteering project. And then the last one on the reverse mentoring side. So actually, we do this in Deloitte as well. So there's always this formal concept of mentoring, right? Like your most senior person with the sort of next layer down, etc. So we do it now the other way around as well. So actually, we've got our sort of graduates, sort of first, second, third year students, mentoring sort of our partners and our directors in the business around what do sort of that generation want, how do you interact with technology, things like that. So it's a reverse mentoring type concept, that education sort of upward rather than just downward. Okay, so what are the simple things that you can do around talent retention? So a couple of ones here. So ask your employees what matters, what's important to them, what do they want. Good example on this one was Starbucks. So previous CEO now, Howard Schultz of Starbucks, goes around, 100 stores, which is obviously a small proportion of all their stores, but 100 stores in the US, and actually goes around and asks their employees, what do our customers want? What do you find challenging? What annoys you about working here? What do you like about working here? So he physically went around and sort of asked everyone. Second one, display trust to work flexibly. On top of that, and I know it's a really old example, and I'm sure most of you are aware of it, but the next Netflix one for me is massive. So the way they did sort of their HR strategy, for those of you that don't know, they basically said, okay, we're not going to have an HR policy around vacation. You can take as much vacation as you want. Sick leave. If you're sick, you're sick. I don't need a note. I don't need anything. So you can just choose. And what they found was, after putting that in place, that actually with that sort of inclusive, trusting environment, actually people were taking less holiday. There was less sick leave. And when people were at work, they were more productive. I know an extreme example, but if we can get anywhere near that place, we're in a good place. Trust in leadership. So actually what they think, what they feel, how they work, okay, everything really in an organization, certainly in a corporate world, sort of can come from the top down, setting a precedence around things. How much buy-in is there around sort of agile working policies? So there does need to be that sort of buy-in to sort of set the tone and employees to sort of be bought into it. And then the final one, just to draw out here, so challenge the performance management process. So many organizations have this typical sort of year-in check-in right at the end of the year to describe, okay, how well did the employee do? How well did you do? Now we're moving to more of a less sort of ranking individuals, less rating individuals, and more of that informal conversation throughout, a much more discursive type performance management process. So moving from the sort of classic bell curve type mentality. So here are just a few examples of things. Okay. So another group discussion. Should really say exercise, because what we're going to ask you to do again, sorry, but if you can all come down to the stage here again, we're playing another sort of box type game. Do you need the mic? Yeah.
Do you want to what?
Summarize.
I don't know, maybe.
Yeah.
Okay. We have 5 minutes before lunch.
Okay, so remember, yes, get in the box, no, stay outside the box. So question number 1 of 3 questions. Does your organization, or do you think organizations have flexible, open career models offering enriching projects? Okay, who wants to give us some examples, maybe some of the people inside the box?
Flexible career models, open, enriching experiences.
Hi. Does it work?
Okay. So I am working in one bank in Estonia, so we are really struggling with giving good and exciting projects for the employees, because especially in the IT sector, no one wants to code someone else's projects and continue them. So we sometimes start projects that are maybe not that bringing that much money back to us, but that are more interesting for the employees to do.
Cool.
Perfect.
We'll pass on some more.
Maybe one more example?
No.
Anybody?
Yeah, there goes. Go on, go on. There we go.
Well, I work for the Ministry of Interior, but we have a very flexible working schedule, and the ministry really encourages. I mean, we can work, as you said, in an agile manner, and the ministry encourages it. But we also have it's possible for me to move from one department to another. It's also possible, but there are a lot of vacancies available. So and the ministry also accepts it and encourages. So is
that well known? Advertised?
It's not very well advertised, but we're trying to move towards this.
Yeah, perfect. Okay. Question number 2, is your organization focusing on employee experience?
It's everything. It's
oh, no!
Are you delighting your employees?
What does it mean? Yeah, maybe you...
Okay. So when we talk about employee experience, it's like your employees, do they just turn up and do stuff, or do you actually create this, what we call in Deloitte, the irresistible organization? Do you delight your employees every day? Whether it's through sort of the shiny things like gyms and swimming pools or stuff like that, allowing them to work on sort of charity projects. Do you provide well-being? Really thinking about their needs rather than just their generic full-time employment. Yeah.
I have a comment.
Yeah.
I think it's actually
I would say...
Obviously not standard.
Well,
depends what the standard is, right?
We do have to differentiate between like large corporations and small organizations, and well.
Do you? Why? Employee is an employee.
Well, I'm just also trying to understand what you mean by it. Is it that there is some kind of like very fancy system in place, or is it actually? I would say there are some standard practices. Which are very often in place, and it's just like normal, you know, to take into account that your employees would like to have interesting projects and some sporting facilities or opportunities, isn't it? No?
I would say maybe with the amount of people outside the box, maybe not.
No.
Anybody else? Oh.
Yeah, because I work in IT sector, I think it's kind of standard there, especially in Estonia, where you really need to, I don't want to say fight, but you really need to work hard to attract talent, and the competition is pretty high. So maybe in that case it is standard, and we kind of take it for granted. But looking at the number of people outside the box, I'm starting to reconsider that.
Yeah, right. Yeah. It's interesting, like how the IT companies, the big ones, the small ones, are pushing everyone who's not IT to kind of think about this stuff, right? Because they're like, oh, but they do that. Why can't we do that? We're an organization with 10 people, 5 people, 100 people, 5,000 people. It should be the same, right? But it's not. Yeah, so the IT are pushing the boundaries on this kind of stuff. Yeah.
But I think on that, sorry, Will, to jump in, but I think on that point as well, so organizations that we used to work with would always ask, sort of Andy, Siri and I, tell me about what's happening in my industry. So give me my industry trends. Who are my immediate competitors and what are they doing? And now it's more around, tell me what the tech industry's doing. And they want to like kind of leapfrog all of their competitors. And no one really wants to be seen as a FS organization or a TMT technology, sorry.
The cigarette companies.
Yeah, like they want to be something better. They want to be something different. Yeah. Tell me what the best is. I don't care whether it's in my industry. Sorry, Will.
No, I was just going to say that I think I teach a lot on talent management, and there are just so many case studies of organizations that do it really, really badly. And I think we've moved away from this whole notion of people being within a career or within an organization for the whole of their lives. People are moving organizations, people are moving across sectors at an unprecedented level. So that whole notion of a benchmark, a stamp that you need to achieve, job done, I just don't think exists in my experience.
Thanks, Will. Okay, 2 more questions. So one, outside the box again. Mm-hmm. So maybe we'll change this. So does your organization consider the different generations and what they want out of their work? So like you all got these programs, but are they focused on do they take into account the different generations within your organization?
Generation X, Y, Z, U, right?
Yeah.
Who's Gen U?
Do you know what Gen U is? The unretired, right? Great. So what comes out is really interesting. Like maybe from a talent attraction, you think about this, but when it comes within an organization, it doesn't matter. It comes fundamentally about people interact with, if we're honest, about 10 to 15, 20 people. So it becomes about leadership at all levels. So wherever your leaders are, can they interact with those different generations? Yeah.
Okay.
You got an example? Yeah.
We have a working group with the HR decision makers of the bigger companies.
Sorry, guys. Thank you. Sorry.
We have a working group with all the decision makers of the biggest companies, the HR decision makers, and they say one of the 4 main issues, one of those, is how to deal with the next generation, generation Y and Z, right. My kids, but also actually the employees we have. And I just, actually last year, I hired in my team, I have a team of 16 people, and I hired 5 employees that are like 20, 25, maybe up to 30. And I have to say, sometimes it can be kind of a struggle, like their perspective is totally different.
Right.
But I use it, and I really like your idea of putting it upside down.
The reverse mentoring.
I'm going to use that one.
Great.
And I'm going to recommend it to the HR leaders too, because I love it.
Perfect.
Thanks.
Perfect. Okay, any other examples?
Maybe I just comment on this reverse mentoring. In Estonia, we have one bank who is doing the same thing. It's a very, very popular, very popular
really noisy,
project.
right?
So it's here as well. It's not new for Estonian companies as well. Anybody else?
I actually stepped in after a few minutes because
we convinced you.
it is actually difficult to balance the motivation of employees.
Yeah.
I'm advisor to the Minister of Economy of Lithuania, and my minister is 32 years old. So he's kind of like motivated himself, and he pushes people to work harder and like more openly minded. So since we came into the office, the employees said openly that it became harder for them to work. Honestly, yes. We had the discussion. And so we're trying to keep the balance. We assign different tasks. So if there is a unit of 4 or 6 people, and there's like 3 of them 30 years old, and the rest. Some people are retired already, but they're still working. So we assign different tasks. We give like, if we need a statistic, maybe the elderly people can do it easily. And if we need a presentation that looks like this, then we ask for younger people to do that. And we think it's a good idea. It's positive.
Yeah, that's great. I like that idea. Cool.
Okay, so I think final question.
Don't mind. Is there another one? Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
Who's ready for lunch? Get in the box.
In a box. Okay.
No joke.
Yeah, it's fine. Okay. So we don't go back. So we're going to stop here. Appreciate everyone giving their thoughts and things like that. So I won't summarize all the things we talked about because you'll see the slides. You can kind of read it. But I'll just go back to the beginning. Right? We're all facing the same disconnected challenges. Think outside the box if you really want to make a difference. All right. So any questions? Appreciate your help. Thank you very much.
Thank you.